Do you want to qualify for round 2 of a cash cup? Do you think you have what it takes? Well, this video is for you and we're going to help you learn how to do that. In this video, we're going to be breaking down early, mid, and end game and talk through how to qualify for round 2 of the solo cash cup. Hope you guys enjoy the video. If you do, make sure to like and subscribe. Let's get to it. Let's talk about what kind of games that you need in order to qualify. It's a common misconception that you need to drop a 40 bomb in the first match in order to qualify for round 2 of a cash cup. As we can see from looking through multiple different match histories of top 100 players, it's really 3 or 4 really good games and then a couple of average games. But in the bad games, what you need to make sure you're doing is not wasting too much time on them. If you're getting a 30th but spending 20 minutes in the game, that is probably a bad match and going to force you not to be able to qualify for the next round. So it's optimizing the number of points per time spent in match. First, let's start with early game. The first thing you have to do is find your drop. What is a place that is going to fit your strengths and also kind of hide your weaknesses? Say you're a strong aimer, you have really good distance AR aim, or you're a great sniper, then you probably want a more open POI that's not going to be building the building that allows you to use that to your advantage. If you're a box fighter, you probably want to find a POI that's going to be up close and personal. Now you have to find your drop and own your drop. If you want to be one of the top 100 players in your region, you're going to have to be one of the best players at that location, if not the best one. Own that drop, find where you want to be at that specific drop, and what does that mean? You want to find areas that are going to be loot heavy, going to be material heavy, have a strong physical position, are on the outskirts or the outside of the area, so that way you're not being easily third partied. If you do all this and you're confident in your fighting abilities off spawn, this shouldn't be the first time you're landing at this POI. You should have landed here, fought here so many times in arena, in scrims, whatever it may be. You have to practice your drop because this is how you get your game started. Once you've done this, you've completed the early phase of the game and we move into mid game. In mid game, there's essentially going to be 2 different options. You're either going to play aggressive and look for fights and W key, or you're going to play patient and kind of just hide, play passively, not look to get in engagements. Let's start off with the aggressive style. Let's learn how to take smart fights. So in order to take smart fights and win them pretty consistently, you want to begin the engagement with a damage advantage. So that means you're the first one putting off damage, or if you're trading damage, you're the one coming out on top, dealing more damage than you're taking. Once you do that, you want to close the gap quickly, find your opponent, cut off all of their exits, piece control them, and end the fight quickly with significant damage. You don't want to be fighting for too long because otherwise you're going to get third partied and wind up in a poor position. Now let's say you are the team or the player getting W keyed. You need to learn how to flee or turn around a fight. So what you do in this space is create some space for yourself. You then heal or fully disengage. You'll return damage back to the opponent because they're not going to stop chasing you unless they are given a reason to stop chasing you. And once you turn back that damage, you start to turn the fight around, and you could either end the fight and go on to the aggressive side, or just fully look to disengage once you've put your opponent on the back foot. Now lastly, we have the passive and the patient play style. This is going to be playing the edge of zone, and I don't mean playing central edges, I mean playing the edge of the map side of the edges of zone. This is typically going to be the least congested, also known as dead side, and you'll find other players looking to play more passively in these areas. You want to hide, play patiently, go find a bush, go find a box or some old builds you can sneak your way into, find a building that you can hide in, and typically, you want to avoid the centers of zone while you're trying to play passively. It's not going to wind up being the best if you're in an area where a lot of players are going to rotate through. Now that you've made it through mid game, let's talk about end game. So we are at fit zone, going into moving zones. The important key is to keep it simple. You ever heard the term keep it simple, stupid? Well, that's exactly what you want to do during the end game. You have an opponent that you're never going to win, and that is the zone that is going to continue to move. So you essentially are doing 3 things, one of them at a time during end game. You're either healing, you're fighting, or you're rotating. You can't really do more than one at a time, so keep it simple, focus on one, do one really well, and then change phases quickly, but don't get caught healing or fighting for too long, because then you get lost on your rotate. You also don't want to risk your game for 1 point, and you want to maximize each match. So whatever your loadout tells you, if you have a really strong loadout, then you could play a little more aggressive if you have some awesome weapons. If you just have a ton of mats, a ton of heals, then you probably want to play more passively, use all your materials before you look to push and get too aggressive and jump in people's boxes. So let's talk about the aggressive playstyle. How do you play aggressive in endgame? Well, essentially what you want to do is you want to gain info on your opponents. Then look for enemies in weak positions, get some tags. Once you get some information on their HP and also their materials, you put pressure on them, force them to make a mistake, and then go for the kill. What you want to do while being aggressive, though, is avoid clusters of players, because even if you get the elimination, you're probably not the only one looking at that player, and you're going to get jumped on. On the other hand, passive players. What do you want to do and how do you want to play passively? So typically the best place to rotate is going to be on the left or right side of moving zones. That's going to be because on the outskirts of either your left or right, there's going to be the storm. There won't be players in the storm, and you could use that to your advantage. It helps you save materials, helps you understand, okay, I only have to look to one side and avoid players on your layer, or to find people that are trying to be a little more aggressive than you want them to be. So stay on the edges. While you do have people that are layering on your same layer, put pressure on them. Force them off of your layer so that you can own the space. Once you own the space, make sure to keep it. Don't give it up easily unless you have a quick and easy escape. Understand what the other layers are around you and always give yourself an escape position. Also, you want to prioritize rotates. That is going to be the most important piece of playing passively. It's consistently putting yourself in a good position to rotate. Regardless of whether you play passive or aggressive, we have to talk about closing out the game and either going for the win or trying to maximize your placement in order to get the most points out of the game. So first of all, you have to take stock of where you are within the match. What position are you in? Are you still stacked? Are you shambles? Okay, then can I play for the win? If I'm shambles, I probably don't have the loadout to play for the win. So I should play for as many points as possible, maximize that placement, and be confident in that position. Now, on the other hand, if I am stacked or I'm able to get a refresh, take advantageous position within the zone, then we can play for the win, put some pressure on opposing players, likely go for the high ground, pressure everyone down below, force them to fight, and then take the dub for yourself.